Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Here we are in the Psychology of Eating podcast, and I am with Jessica today. Welcome, Jessica.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. I'm excited to be in this conversation. And one of my favorite questions to ask people is if you could wave your magic wand and get whatever you wanted with food, body, health, what would that be for you?
Well, I definitely know what it's going to be. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism over 10 years ago, so I would love to get off of my Synthroid.
Got it. How are your symptoms these days?
They're okay. You know, it's funny because when I was diagnosed, I didn't even have symptoms. My doctor actually had felt my thyroid and it seemed enlarged and sent me to the endocrinologist. I got blood work and that's how I was diagnosed. So I still struggle with being tired a little bit, but not really where it's affecting my way of life. I'm working, I'll, have movement in my life. So I think the symptoms are minimal and I have cold feet and hands, just basic, but nothing extreme.
Mm-hmm. So how long have you been on Synthroid?
Over 10 years now. So
and have you ever gone off of it?
I tried once, which probably was not the smartest because I didn't taper myself off, but I was off for a couple of weeks. I felt no change, but when I got blood work, it was my TSH levels were very high.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And have you ever been on any other kind of thyroid medication other than Synthroid?
No.
Okay. And have you worked with the same doctor this whole time?
I have switched doctors. That has been my struggle of just finding someone that supports me and is willing to work. I definitely believe in a more holistic approach, and that has been challenging to find a doctor that is willing to work in that aspect. So
you've looked in the Long Island area?
Yes, and I'm going to see a new endocrinologist in January. But yes, it's just they kind of have put me on Synthroid. Every time I go, it's take some blood work, you're fine, and out the door. So that's just been my challenge of not feeling that I have that support and a doctor to work with to figure out how to help my situation.
Yeah.
So they've reduced my medication a few times, but, I'm still on 125 micrograms. So to me, that's a good amount.
Mm-hmm. And what happens when your dosage gets reduced? Do you notice any difference?
Really, no. I've had like heart palpitations prior. So that has been a symptom of too much medication, and then they'll reduce it and it subsides. So I've definitely looked at my diet and managing stress, but, even my antibodies have reduced drastically, but still just trying to get someone to work with me to, no one believes that you could get off medication. So, or at least the doctors that I've been working with.
Oh, there's definitely doctors out there that you can work with. Have you tried, rather than look for a traditional endocrinologist, have you tried looking for a functional medicine doctor? Are you familiar with that term?
Yes, I have not. I've looked into it, but I have not gone to one. I went to a chiropractor that had more of an integrative medicine practice as well, but I have not gone that functional doctor route yet.
Okay, so let me just get right into making a couple of suggestions for you. Do you have a pen and paper or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I would get online and go to ifm.org. That's Institute for Functional Medicine, ifm.org. And so Institute for Functional Medicine trains all kinds of medical practitioners and most specifically doctors in an approach to medicine that definitely incorporates natural medicine, looking at the body more as a holistic system as opposed to just a bunch of parts. And right on the main homepage, there's a tab you can click on that says Find a Practitioner. And I would look for either a medical doctor or an endocrinologist, because there might be a functional endocrinologist that's either in your area or even in New York City, which might not be too far away. Mm-hmm. And the idea, because, different doctors will look at the thyroid differently. They'll give emphasis to different thyroid tests more so than others. There are also other thyroid medications aside from Synthroid that we could say are more natural. So Synthroid is telling you that it's synthetic. And there are some people who use, there's a thyroid medication called Armour Thyroid. I believe it's ARMOUR. Mm-hmm. People fare very well on that. And it's literally the natural stuff. Regardless, I think once you're working with somebody that comes from your approach or your philosophy, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable being in the exploration. And, sometimes I think, Jessica, that's the name of the game is, you're married?
Yes.
Yeah. So all you had to do was find one person. You don't need to find 100 people to marry you. You just need to find one person who feels like the right person. And when you find that right relationship, that's the one for you. I often look at a good doctor or a good dentist in the same way. Once you find the one where, we're a match. Yeah. And we come from the same universe. We come from the same planet. We see things similar. Essentially, you're the customer. You're the one paying the money. You're getting a service. And a lot of times it's really about empowering ourselves to find the kind of medical professional who we are paying. You're paying your good money. Even if insurance is paying for it, you're still essentially paying. And, you might have to go out of insurance. But even if you see a good functional medicine doctor a handful of times, at the end of the day, it might be well worth it if you're paying out of pocket. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Because you're getting what you want, you're moving in the direction you want to go in, and you might get a whole different perspective in terms of what you're dealing with. Because I'm very interested about the fact that you don't have a lot of symptoms. That's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. That's huge.
And I think it's because of how I eat and, trying to manage stress, which is something that I still work on. I mean, now I've been dealing with some gut issues. So, even I hear all disease starts in the gut, and I'm like, okay, if I could just heal my gut, then maybe my thyroid would help heal. And, one reason why I always listen to you was the psychology of eating was the emotional component of I tend to overeat, even though I'm eating very nourishing foods and healthy foods and I cook at home. So that has been another aspect to it, where I was listening to another doctor of saying, our food doesn't compare to the amount of medicine that we intake, if that makes sense, where, the Synthroid that I'm taking is not enough to overcome all the food that I'm putting into my body. So, if I could just not overeat, maybe that could help my digestion and then ultimately help with the thyroid. I don't know.
What is the issue that you're having with your gut these days?
Just with not being able to go to the bathroom now, just digestion. I mean, I don't have any stomach pains, but basically it's been constipation.
For how long?
Honestly, a good portion of my life. When I had been plant-based for about 2.5 years, didn't have any issues at all. And I tend not to digest meat well, which I have removed from my diet. But, that has just been something that I've been struggling with. I don't know if it's also related to stress, because I've been more stressed in the last couple of months. So, and then also lack of movement. I'm working on the computer a lot, and I'm trying to stand. You'll see my standing desk probably in the back, and drink more water. So that has been something that I've been struggling with pretty much probably my whole life.
Wow. What is your fat intake like? Dietary fat?
Probably the fat that I'm getting, I'm trying to take in moderation oils, or if I'm cooking or baking with oils, really reduce or eliminate. And then I am getting fat from like peanut butter and sources like that. But my diet consists mainly of grains, vegetables. I'll have smoothies, but I'll have legumes, and I do eat eggs.
So you're getting fat from eggs, and how often do you have eggs?
Pretty much every day.
Got it. How often do you have peanut butter?
Probably a few times a week. Mm-hmm. It'd be every day. Sometimes I put it in my smoothie.
And personal question, how often will you move your bowels?
Probably like right now in the last couple of months, it's been every other month. Every other month. That would be really bad. Every other day. Got
it. And do you take any laxative type substances?
No, I used to when I was younger. And now really, I've been focusing on I have a magnesium supplement. So I'll add that into my water to try to help.
Mm-hmm. So here's the good news. Yes, you're dealing with constipation. Once every other day could be a lot worse. I would personally love to see you upping the amount of fat in your diet. And the easiest way for you at this point might be just to take an EFA supplement. So take it in a supplemental form. Goodness, there's, you can go to a health food store, and there's a product called Udos, UDOS, Udos oil. There's another company called Barleans, Barleans. You can find them in the refrigerator section. Don't get the ones that are in capsules, get the ones that are just liquid. And I would take 2 tablespoons per day.
Okay.
Don't let it scare you.
Yeah, well, I guess my question is then, should I be adding in the olive oil when I'm cooking, or I'll use like an unrefined coconut oil? But then I've also been, I guess I do have a lot going on. I've been trying to lose some weight. So then that's why I thought I needed to remove that. Yeah.
So removing fat out of your diet and being low fat is not going to help you lose weight. They call EFAs essential fatty acids essential for a reason. Your body needs them for life. If we sucked all the fat out of your body, you would be dead in an instant. So what's happening is, my guess is you are a bit essential fatty acid deficient. And one of the symptoms, okay, let's actually go through a list of the symptoms of being deficient in essential fats. If you're deficient in essential fats, you can feel fatigued, you can feel irritated, you could have redness around the eyes, you could have oily skin or dry skin, you can have dry hair, you might even start to notice your nails get brittle. You can have digestive upset, interestingly enough, if you are low in fat, meaning you just don't feel like food is sitting well in your stomach, you're not digesting as strongly. Other than fatigue and mood issues, one of the main symptoms of essential fatty acid deficiency is weight loss resistance, meaning your body doesn't want to lose weight. Why? Because it thinks it's starving. It thinks it's on a desert island. It thinks, oh my God, there's no food. There's no essential nutrition. I must be starving, better hang on to body fat very vigorously because we're missing some key ingredients here. So fat in your diet does not equal fat on your body. Yes, I would want you to avoid as best as you can some of the more unhealthy fats. And when I say unhealthy fats, I'm really thinking of hydrogenated oils. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of soy oil, hydrogenated oils, soy oil. For some reason, the powers that be turned canola oil into this healthy oil, and it's not. But there's a very good chance that if you start to get more essential fat in your diet, you're going to notice a difference with your bowels, potentially. You're going to just feel better. And you're not going to gain weight. And if anything, you might stimulate your metabolism.
Okay. And would you recommend that taking the supplement over adding in more avocado or unrefined oils into your diet?
I would do both for you.
Okay.
Just so you can give your system the message that fat is happening. Okay. So if you're going to add more avocado and more olive oil daily into your diet, then just take 1 tablespoon of an EFA supplement.
Okay.
You can still do 2. It's not going to hurt you. I'm looking for you. It is extremely important that a human being moves their bowels every day. So a lot of times, if it takes a bunch of magnesium, it's worth it. Mm-hmm. If it takes a bunch of essential fat in liquid form, it's worth it. Neither of those substances, magnesium or a good quality EFA oil, is going to hurt you.
Okay. Yeah. And usually coffee would stimulate, but now it hasn't been at all.
Yeah, I think so. So always with these things, it's an experiment. We're always experimenting. Let's try this and see what happens. We're going with the odds. So because you're telling me you're low fat and you're telling me you're constipated, the first place I think is, wow, we should replete you with more essential fatty acids and see what that does. It's only going to help.
Is that sorry. Yeah. Is that like MCT oil? Would that be an essential fatty acid?
No. So, MCT oil is another oil that I'm not a huge fan of. That's not an essential fat. So the 2 products that I recommended, Barleans, Udos, you should see them in any health food store in the refrigerator section. And they have a multi-oil. It has a number of different oils. It might say like Udos 369 or something like that. Or but you look for not flax oil, but it'll have a number of oils. It'll have some flax. It'll have some borage oil in it. It'll have a few other oils, maybe some pumpkin seed oil. But you want to get a multi-oil that is high quality and technically refrigerated so it's not rancid. Okay. That's why I'm sending you to a health food store to a refrigerator section. So we're using this as a medicinal in terms of the tablespoon or 2 that you're taking every day because you're treating a symptom that is not an ideal symptom to have and seeing if there's a difference. I want to recommend another resource for you. Are you familiar with the website called Thyroid Pharmacist?
Yes. Yeah. So I have Dr. Amy Meyer's book and Dr. Isabella Went's book. And I think that's where also I get so confused because I was plant-based and then these books came out and it said, if you have Hashimoto's, you have to be gluten-free, you're grain-free, you focus on meat and vegetables. And I did that for a while, but I still didn't feel great. So it's it's confusing as to, okay, how should I be eating?
Yes. So I think everybody's right and everybody's wrong. Meaning there are some people who will truly benefit from a more sort of paleo-oriented diet for their thyroid condition, for their Hashimoto's, meat and vegetables. And there's some people who just fare really poorly on that. It doesn't work for them. Some people are going to do better on a no meat or largely no meat diet? Does one have to go gluten-free if you have Hashimoto's? That's a tough one. Generally speaking, you take 100 people who have Hashimoto's and you take everybody off of gluten. My guesstimation, just from hearing around what people say, probably about 80% of the time, you're going to hear some really positive feedback. Mm-hmm. And some of that 80% positive feedback will be hugely positive feedback. So you're playing the odds.
Yeah, and I've removed, and I've been that route too, completely removed gluten. These past about almost 60 days now, I removed gluten. I don't feel any different, to tell you the truth. And then I really do focus on quality of what I'm eating. So when I ate gluten, I would eat Food for Life, the Ezekiel bread, or I make my own sourdough bread at home. So I guess for me, are those foods bad? Do I really have to be fully gluten-free, or is it okay? Because I look at these other gluten-free breads and they have so many ingredients and I wouldn't even touch those. So to me, that's not healthy. And I don't know how that would benefit me.
Yes. So I would say if you've noticed that when you go gluten-free, you don't notice any difference, and then I would consider eating low gluten, occasional gluten. And I think you hit the nail on the head where you mentioned quality. Quality is very important. There are tons of gluten-free breads or gluten-free products that the quality is absolutely awful. I would rather a person just eat the gluten food than a gluten-free version that just doesn't have the best ingredients. So, part of it is learning to trust your own body and notice, because at the end of the day, experts can tell you a lot about your body based on this test and that test and based on their experience. But you know more about your body than anybody from the perspective that you live with it. You understand its ups and downs, and you know what you eat, and you notice how you feel relative to what you eat. So if you're confused because this expert says this and that expert says that, that's correct. Experts differ about the same exact topic. Here's what you do for your Hashimoto's, and then you get, 5 different recommendations. So I'm always looking to take the nugget of wisdom from what any expert has to say. And the nugget of wisdom is, maybe this diet might work for you. Let's try it. Okay, you tried it. No big difference. Let's try this approach. Okay. So as long as you approach it from the perspective of, I'm on my own healing journey, I'm on my own journey with food and body and health, and it's unique to me. And I have unique chemistry and unique DNA like every other human being. So it's about empowering ourselves to trust our own experience.
Yeah, that makes me feel better because it is so confusing, and there's all these different experts and their opinions. And then I just question what I'm doing, and it's different than what people are saying that I should be doing. So that is conflicting. And then, when I get my blood work, it's not like the doctor, and I'm going to look for the functional doctor, but it's not like the doctor's like, oh yeah, this is working for you, or this isn't working. So
yes, and oftentimes, unfortunately, many traditional doctors, they don't treat you, they treat the test. And they're just strictly looking at a result on a test, on a piece of paper, and they're not necessarily tracking you and following you on your journey. What are you eating? What are you doing? What changes are you making? What's going on in your life? Let's test again, see how you're doing. Oh, wow, we see a difference in the test. What have you been doing differently? That to me is a great way to explore. Again, you want to find a practitioner who can walk that journey with you. And to your point, there's not a lot of them, and you got to find that person. Mm-hmm. And because it's your health, that's the most important thing. So this is about, on one level, it's interesting. In my personal belief system, Thyroid is often representative. Thyroid is the throat. It's the throat center. It's the throat energy. It's the throat chakra. It's the place where we express ourselves. Hi, it's me. I'm Mark. Hi, it's me. I'm Jessica. And it's where we declare ourselves to the world. Your throat is your power. It's where you say who you are, what you want, what you like, what you don't like. It's your yeses. It's your nos. It's here's what I want. Here's what I don't want. So the voice is very powerful. The voice lets the world know who we are. If I'm not speaking my voice, if I'm holding back in my relationship, if I'm holding back with my parents, if I'm holding back my voice in this situation, in work, if I'm not claiming my power and what I believe and living it, then I'm not fully expressing my throat. So I'm not saying that sort of thing would cause a thyroid issue, but what I'm saying is I believe that the more you work on some of the lessons of the voice, of the throat, the better you'll be. Can't hurt.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you'll still be on Synthroid, but at least you'll be more self-expressive. You'll be more you. So it's an interesting question to ask, where are the places in my life where I hold back from being me, from saying who I am, how I feel, what I'm about, what my values are.
Yeah, and I think that has been too of the way that I eat, because it was probably over 8 years ago. My brother made me watch the documentary Forks Over Knives, and that completely changed my world, because before that I was diagnosed, I was on Synthroid, and I was just told, there was nothing I could do. I just would be on this medication. And that documentary really just opened my eyes that, wow, food could impact the way that I feel and my overall health. So that really started my experience into this whole other world of holistic living and healing myself with food and, self-love and stressing less and things like that. But I just think to myself, I'm like, this has been a 10-year journey now. And am I really going to be on Synthroid for the rest of my life? Which I know isn't the worst thing, that I'm grateful that I still have a thyroid, but I just, I would love to be able to just be better and not need medicine. But I know maybe it's not meant to be.
Maybe, we don't know. It's a wonderful wish. It's a reasonable wish. It's a legitimate wish and desire. And given that that's important for you, if I was in your shoes, I'd be saying the same thing, personally. So I understand. So then it becomes, how is this experience a great teacher for you? How is your thyroid condition literally teaching you? It's teaching you that food is important. It's teaching you that how you manage your emotions, your inner world, your thoughts, your stress, that's important. It's teaching you that your lifestyle is important. It's teaching you to go out there and learn other approaches and learn other systems and recognize, oh my goodness, there's so much out there. So your thyroid challenge has already expanded your worldview. It's expanded your life. And when I mentioned before, taking back your power, it's understanding that every doctor, every practitioner, every endocrinologist works for you. You're the customer. Forget about the word patient for a second. You're the customer. You're paying for a service. You don't like the service, you find somebody that gives you the service that you want. And you don't have to take no for an answer. I was having prostate issues many months ago and went to a highly regarded prostate specialist who basically told me we got to significantly cut it out. And I remember thinking to myself, nah, I don't want to go that way. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not what I want to do. It's not my worldview. I can't imagine that that's my only option. I tried all kinds of dietary means, supplemental things. Nothing was working. I probably saw what would be considered 5 or 6 of the best prostate specialists in the best urology departments all over the United States.
Wow.
I expanded my search to Europe. I just wanted to find somebody, a urologist, a specialist, who kind of saw the world the way I do. Turns out I found that person. Turns out I was given the most minimal procedure, and I'm fine.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that took a handful of months of searching and not taking no for an answer. Even though I was with the best doctors at the most highly regarded clinics and hospitals. And for me personally, I just knew there's a better way. And that's what I'm counting on. That's what I'm looking for. And it just really empowered me to go on a journey and search.
I love that. And I think that many times I have gotten frustrated in the past and just stayed with the doctor and just kind of accepted it and said, okay, like this is, I had my last doctor, she wouldn't even test my antibodies. Like she didn't believe in testing my antibodies. And, I would say to her, well, I feel that changing my diet and my lifestyle, I've seen reduced antibodies numerous times, like, can't we test them? And, I finally ended up leaving that doctor, but, you're right. Like I need to continue to search for that doctor that is going to support me, that believes in what I believe in, because, there's the other side of, and my family is very supportive and I'm lucky, but also people look at me and they're like, oh, you're healthy. Like nothing is wrong with you. So it seems like, okay, you look healthy, so nothing is wrong, but I am still on medicine. So,
this is a good time to expand your search. I would start with the Institute for Functional Medicine website, because that would be a great resource to find a functional medicine practitioner either in your area or in New York City. There's a number of them in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you'll be surprised how quickly you're going to be able to start to pick and choose who you work with based on what you read or based on an initial conversation over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really important for you to empower yourself to find a professional that you feel good about, that matches your worldview.
I agree. You're right. I gave up, but I'm going to go back and look for a functional doctor to see who will support me. And I think even just having this conversation with you, everybody tells me that I will never get off my medicine, but even just hearing you that it's, a possibility and, I'm not saying that it's going to happen but just to have some kind of hope that, there is a way to reduce my medication or possibly get off of it just makes me feel better and is definitely one of my goals and why I'm doing everything that I do.
It's such a worthy goal, and it's so understandable why you might give up and say, okay, I'll just work with the person I'm working with because it's convenient and they're the one who's educated and they're supposedly the smart one. And the reality is, in every profession, you have a gradation of worldviews. And, some plumbers are better than others. Some electricians are better than others. Some hairstylists are better than others. Some doctors are better than others. It's just the reality of how it is. And you're looking for somebody who comes from a very specific kind of worldview, and it's out there. And there's just more and more doctors who are practicing natural and functional medicine. It's just a question of finding them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's, in a weird way, it's part of the excitement because it's sort of like a treasure hunt.
Yeah. And I do think, because I try not to dwell on the fact that I am on Synthroid, and I do think to myself, oh my God, thank God that I moved into this holistic world and found this way, different way of eating healthy and nourishing my body, because who knows where I would have been if I wasn't diagnosed and I was still eating fast food and all this processed food. So I'm very grateful for that.
Something, I thought of another resource you might want to check out. Get online. It's called ultrawellnesscenter.com. It's all one word, ultrawellnesscenter.com.
Okay.
It's in Massachusetts, but they might do telemedicine.
Okay.
And there's a very good chance you call them up and they'll be able to give you a referral for somebody in your neck of the woods.
Okay.
So it's a functional medicine practice. It's Dr. Mark Hyman, who's best-selling author and sort of world famous. So that's his clinic.
Okay. Thank you.
How you feeling?
I feel good. I feel really good. I think it's just remembering that this is part of the journey and that it's going to take constant work. And I think, talking with you has helped a lot, especially even with the food aspect, because I have been struggling with, I see what works best for me, but then it's different than what the experts are telling me. So that confuses me as to what I should do. So that does make me feel better of, being in tune with how I feel with certain foods. And, I'm definitely going to try the essential fatty acids to see if that will help as well. So that was wonderful.
Great. It's so important to understand that, like so many things, nutrition advice the field of nutrition is still young. It's still learning. It's still growing. It's not a one-size-fits-all profession, meaning here's the one diet that works for everybody. Here's the one diet that works for everybody with heart disease. Here's the one diet that works for everybody with Hashimoto's. So it's an exploration. And take back the power from the experts. Look at the experts as your consultants. And okay, they make recommendations that they're passionate about. Great. If you choose, give it a try. Follow their system and then see how you do.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't work for you, it just means it didn't work for you. No blame, no harm done. You tried it. You gave it a shot. You gave it your effort. And I'm sure it works for other people. It just didn't work for your unique body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that makes me feel better because I've read so many books. And especially the gluten has been, something that I toggle with all the time, whether or not I need to completely give that up. So, for me, it's just working on now finding that functional medicine doctor, continuing to be my best advocate, and then also, finding the foods that work best for me and really being mindful of what I'm eating and not overeat.
Yes. And, it would be easy to overeat these days because, you're dealing with a lot and you're on this journey, and food is a great emotional soother. I don't know. What do you think overeating is for you?
It's mainly for dinner. And, it, like even last night, I worked all day and then I had to, run some errands. So I got home late. I made some chickpea pasta and I just had some pesto with it. And I definitely ate way more, probably because I know your book says not to do this, but I was eating dinner on the couch, just watching TV and, continuing to just eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the practice. It's just the practice of being conscious and aware and present around food. And, sometimes food, we use it to check out because, you had a long day, you worked a lot, and you just want to check out. You just want to disappear, watch TV and disappear into food. So it's a stress reducer. Mm-hmm. It brings us into a relaxation state. So there's actually a reason why we're doing it. It's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's not because you have some terrible problem. It's because your body is looking for balance. And it's going to do the thing to do to get balance that it knows best. And a lot of us know from a very young age, you sit down, you eat a bunch of food that you like, and you watch a movie or you watch TV, and you sort of disappear and you kind of feel good, or you forget everything. Mm-hmm. And your day falls away. And then maybe after you eat, you feel as if, oh my God, I ate too much. Ooh, wow. And then at some point we get back in our body and we realize, wish I wouldn't have done that. But it's just at least good to understand why we do that. Because it's a stress reducer. It's helping put you in a relaxation response. So then sometimes it becomes an exploration of what else can I do at night that helps relax me other than food.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think about it as a stress reducer, but that makes sense because throughout the day, obviously I'm working, I'm busy, sometimes I'll eat breakfast, sometimes I won't. I'll have something for lunch. But dinner, I definitely always will overeat for the most part. It's like when you have one plate and then you go back for a second plate and you're like, did I need that plate? No.
Yeah. Do you tend to be a fast eater, a moderate eater, a slow eater at dinner?
Probably moderate, I would say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My guess is right now for you, you're using your evening meal as extra reward. Extra reward, you're rewarding yourself and you're using whatever extra food you eat to stress reduce and to add pleasure to your system. And again, I want to say it makes perfect sense because all creatures are looking to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Mm-hmm. Avoid the pain of stress, discomfort, a rough day, seek the pleasure, get it from however we get it from. Food being one of the easiest places to get pleasure. So I would never say to you, oh my God, stop doing that at dinner, control yourself. Do all these things to I don't know, put the fork down every 30 seconds or something. Yeah, you can do that, but really the problem isn't food. The problem, overeating is a symptom. And it's a strategy. So the strategy is to relax and to feel pleasure. It's a symptom of the fact that you don't have a better idea in the moment of how to stress reduce and find pleasure. So it would be a nice exercise for you to just sit down and think about, just make a list of all possible things you could do in the evening time that are non-food related that can be pleasurable to you and stress reducing. It might be music. It might be music and dancing around. It might be somebody you call. It might be you watch your favorite videos that just relax you. I like to watch, animal videos where donkeys are hanging out with dogs. And, there's weird combinations of, elephants befriending cows or whatever it is. That relaxes me. So it's you looking at what else does that for me.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. And usually if I'm working late, it's like, okay, then I'm starving and I'm, either have a snack or then I'm making dinner and then I'm just shoveling in food.
Yes. And that's one last piece of the puzzle that I want to say about that is if you haven't eaten enough during the day, if you've skipped meals, what I've noticed is a lot of people who eat dinner and then have sort of a mini second dinner. They eat dinner and then they sort of overeat their dinner or they have more. It's often, not always, it's often connected to the fact that they didn't really have 3 regular meals during the day. They skip meals. And I believe there's just a part of the brain that's counting. It's counting nutrition. It's if you didn't get enough nutrition for the day, if you didn't get enough macro or micronutrition, the brain is keeping score. It wants whatever it needs. And finally, it's getting food at the evening meal, and it's probably saying, okay, we need more of this.
Yeah, I can see that. Excuse me.
So if you start experimenting with making sure you eat regular meals during the day that satisfy you, the evening meal becomes less dramatically important.
Okay. And that's another confusing part, right? Because with intermittent fasting and, so it's like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't eat for breakfast or just have a coffee or whatever it may be, or a bar. But you're right. I heard another doctor say that your body could only digest so much food at a specific time so that it makes sense to have smaller meals throughout the day. But, again, it's finding what works best for you.
Exactly.
But there's conflicting information with that as well.
Yes. So I would say for you right now, given what happens for you in the evening, intermittent fasting is probably not the best strategy for you right now, especially if you're trying to lose weight. And especially if you notice evening meal is when you're eating a significant amount more. I would rather you eat regular meals during the day. You don't think about calories because you calorie burn more efficiently at lunch than you do in the evening time. Whatever you eat at breakfast, chances are, unless you have 20 pancakes, you're going to burn your breakfast. You're going to preferentially use those calories for fuel. So body burns its calories most slowly in the evening and late evening and early morning hours, like 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. So all I'm saying is you just want to shift to becoming a regularly nourished eater and notice what happens in the evening time. Notice what happens if your weight changes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I need to do that.
Well, Jessica, what a good conversation.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful and extremely helpful.
I'm so glad we got to do this. Thanks for sharing about your journey. And I think you're going to discover some more good things along the way for yourself because you're that type of person, really. You're looking to find ways to better yourself and you're looking to find ways to heal yourself. And it's just about, keep moving forward and give yourself credit for how far you've already come. Thank you. Part of it's believing that, you can get where you want to go. I completely think it's possible for you.
Thank you. I'm excited now. This was wonderful. So thank you for having me.
Yay. Thanks for being here. And thanks everybody for tuning in. More to come, my friends. Take care.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of The Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care. And remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.